Yes. So we had our editing workshop last week on Sunday, and it was solid. I felt really good about it. There were a couple of things that, in hindsight, I was like, oh man, I should have hit this. Um, but we will cover those now. And if there are any questions or concerns or things that maybe didn't make as much sense to you afterwards, feel free to throw those in the box at any time because I'm going to kind of move through the the lesson. But if there's any portions where I might be talking too fast or you just want me to kind of hyper focus on one element, that's what this is for, right? On Sundays, we have our lesson, we go through it, we finish up. Here's kind of like this is the time for sidebar conversations and getting
Real
distracted
if you
and
don't mind.
breaking out, you know. So feel free to let those fly as you feel comfortable. All right. So
Can I ask real quick now?
yes, absolutely.
So like one of the things I wanted to work on, like I like the way you did the culling before you pulled stuff into Lightroom because it sucks to do it in Lightroom. I use a Windows computer too. It was not letting me use that heart feature with raw files. Is that a setting things or like what?
Yes.
What am I doing
So
wrong?
with raw files,
Uh-huh.
you need a separate viewing software to look at and preview raw files on your computer. Um,
Okay.
but if you're able to view them, if you're able
Mhm.
to view them, you should be able to heart them. To be able to
Yeah,
heart
I
them.
don't. Maybe it's just an update because I tried to, and I like when I looked into it, it was like you can only heart like JPEGs and GIFs or whatever. So if you have
Uh,
any recommendations for like cheap or free software you could use for culling, I'd be all yours. But
I
I couldn't
got
do
you.
it like you did it.
I mean, Lightroom is also pretty good for culling as well. Like if you were to drop all your images in there, you can still go
Um,
through about it with the same like heart system, and then you can organize
okay.
with a heart if that's
Okay.
easier. I just
I'll look at
personally,
that.
I just don't like to have a bunch of raw images in my Lightroom that I don't like. Like I only want to
Mm.
put the for how I'm organizing. I keep my raws like even the throwaways, but the ones that go to Lightroom, I want them to only be the ones I chose. But that's just like my
Yeah, I
own
like that.
personal
I
thing.
want to do that too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can. They have different raw file viewers, but
Okay.
that's going to be a little bit more to taste, right? When it comes to
So that's what I'm looking for, a raw file viewer. Okay.
yeah,
I'll
I
do
don't
it.
really have one because I'm gonna be honest with you. And here's my dirty little secret: like I don't shoot raw. I shoot raw very, very rarely, very, very rarely. So I don't really have to
You
deal
might
with.
want to check out Photo Mechanic. That's a good one. I'm not sure how much. I, well, I know it's free, free trial for 30 days.
Uh-huh.
And actually, if you sign up with another email, it's free for another 30 days. So,
I love that game. I love that game.
yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, nice, nice. Heck yeah, dude. Um, but yeah, so let's get right to it. We are in Adobe Lightroom. I'm uploading. Where's my images at? Hold on. I just uploaded a couple. Am I tripping? Downloads. We're uploading all of these. Yeah, there we go. At 6. So if you go to the Google Drive, it should have all 6 of those images in that thing. Where's recently added? Not by date. Is it by date? Hold on. Editing workshop. Why is it not doing what I tell it to do? That's the real question. So it should have the other images that go right into here. Let me add these to album. We'll add these to editing workshop. That's what we're going to do. It's being weird. See, because you know it is. Some of these images are already in. They're already in my thing. So we'll let me figure this out in a sec. Either way, we'll start with this image. We'll start with this one and we'll go for it. So you guys all have access to this, right? Let me just get a thumbs in the chat to let me know that you guys have all downloaded this image. If you're choosing to edit alongside. If not, That's totally fine. If you just want to watch, you can do that as well. But for those who do wish to edit alongside, just throw your thumbs up in the chat, and then we will get started that way. Recent edits, not recent edits. I'm trying to figure out why or how to get this in there. Like for this thing, what if we went photo and we went to add to album. It's whatever. Yeah, I'll go back and get those later. So, bam, bam. Number one, right? We starting, we got our image. Where do we start? Right? Where do we start? We go white balance. Yep. Absolutely. No. Get in there, chiming in. We all just chopping it up, right? So we got all of our tabs here. And the only thing that I didn't cover in class is self-explanatory. Don't think I really need to talk about it, but was the crop rotate tool. We all know what the crop rotate means. The only cool distinguishment between this and other apps, right? And pretty much everything here is very self-explanatory, right? Like you can flip things horizontally, flip them vertically. You can rotate with just a click of a button. And then you can also adjust the aspect ratio, right? And then what's really cool is you have your presets, so you can go in and just automatically set it to 1:1. You're making an album cover, you got 1:1. You can go ahead and get your framing there. That way you don't have to like guess. And you have your other aspect ratios here as well. What's cool about this is that if you want to adjust your aspect ratio to something particular, right? Like sometimes you can go in and you're like, I don't want it to be too weird or too off from the original. So what you have is you have a lock aspect ratio tool. You lock that. That way it always stays the same measurement, even though it's smaller or larger, right? That's just a cool little tool to have. The auto rotate tool is pretty decent, actually. It's not to be slept on. Sometimes it can be off, sometimes it's pretty good. Every now and then when I'm using, kind of flying through some edits, I'll auto rotate and just work from there and maybe make a small adjustment. But for the most part, it's pretty cool. And then you just hit that button up top to redo or undo what you just did. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get rid of this face because he's humongous. I'm going to shrink him. I'm going to shrink him and put him right here in this corner because who is he anyway? Bam. So, yep, like we said, we're going to color first, and we're going to get our white balance set. For the most part, this white balance is pretty close. I'm not mad at it. We don't have like a huge amount of grays in this image. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can find something that's close to that to set our auto white balance. I'm probably going to come in here on the jeans, way too blue. And that's going to work. Let's see if we can go to the backdrop. Boom. Like right now, we're just kind of like popping around, seeing what works, right? Even the eyeballs could be a great place, right? Kind of close. We can come in here, find a better gray, and it's not always going to be perfect. Like you'll have some issues, right? And to be honest, it was close enough to where I feel like I can eyeball it a little bit. And you'll have those issues sometimes where you'll find an image and maybe there isn't a lot of places where you can use to pick that auto white balance. If you're close enough with your settings and camera, you might be able to just get that done by yourself. I'm probably going to go a little bit cooler, like a tad bit, maybe like -3, right? There's a little green on it, so I'm probably going to go, well, actually it's a little bit red. I think I'm going to go -2 here. Boom. Very slight. As you get better, your eyes will get trained to that and be able to see that. You'll be fine, right? So I'm okay with that. Boom. Now I'm probably going to go in. I'm going to rotate it. I want this to be a little bit more even. Kind of want to have her centered. And just really what I'm doing more so is just framing rather than rotating, even though I did it slightly, right? Bam. I like that. Not mad. So now, what I'm probably going to do is there are some elements to this image that I do want to change visually before I actually get into editing. Like I know I'm going to want to extend out this backdrop as well as kind of clear this area here, right? So I'm going to go to my spot removal tool. I'm going to do that first. That's not excuse me, it's not necessarily what you're supposed to do first, but this is what I'm going to do because of like the type of image that I'm working with, as well as my intended um like results, right? And I feel like it'd be easier if I went in and I made these adjustments now, and then I'll just, you know, do some of like that heavier editing later on. So we're gonna try and see what we can do. It's not always gonna be the best here, you know, especially when we're using such a large area. So sometimes I'll just use a larger brush and I'll just do this and just see what we'll do, right? The generative AI is generally pretty decent, but it might betray us. We'll see. Let's hope it doesn't. Fingers crossed. Let's see. Come on. Big money, no whammy. It's not the best, but it's cool. And I'm not hating it. I don't hate it. Extra hands is crazy. Please screenshot it, post it. I want to see. Need to see that. It's going to be funky. You might have used clone. If not, when you go to generative AI, make sure you don't go too large on the size, and maybe make sure using generative AI is checked on. The results may vary. I'll tell you that right now. Results may vary. And sometimes you'll get an image, even if it's like this, you might need to go in and just highlight certain areas that look kind of off, right? Like these some of these angles are like really sharp, very angular, very like prism-esque. We don't like that. I don't like it. So I'm probably going to just cut that out for now. We're not going to go super heavy into like Photoshop and how to do that, but this for what this is good enough. And then I'm just going to do the same thing up top. I don't mind the darker gradient, right? So, I don't think it's going to completely extend it all the way to red, but if it just gives us a nice fade in between the black and the darkness, like I'm okay with that. But we'll see. Big money, no whammy. I'm cool. Literally all it did was just kind of give it a smoother gradient. I can live with that. And because this is so ugly, now it's going to require me to just kind of go in, crop it a little bit more. We'll go with that. Bam. Right? Much more tolerable, because the further it got away from it, the crazier it started to look. Once it's in here, this is way more manageable. Way more manageable. So we got a cool image. We got a nice framing. We corrected some of the major blemishes and adjustments that we needed to make. Now we can get right into some of the actual photo post processing, right? So like I say, sometimes I like to go in and I like to get my sharpening. We're not going to go to the red. Red is dead. And then for this one, like we talked about before, the sharpening is going to add, some really harsher, grittiness to the entire image. And when we're using masking, what that does is it kind of shaves off some of that sharpening in the areas where we may not want it, and it kind of automatically finds the more defined lines and areas of separation, which generally can be hair and eyes. So as we increase our masking, you can see that it's a lot softer, right? But it's a lot softer. But if you bring it down more and more, you see the eyes tend to pop out, but it keeps the areas like the lips and the rest of the face very soft. If I were to come back down here, you see how it's crunchy everywhere. So just kind of like a back and forth, right? If you can see that differentiation. So I'm probably going to bring mine up to like right here. We still got the sharpness in the eyes, keep the little softness on the rest of the skin. And then for some of the noise reduction, I might bring it up a little bit. As you can see, if we, pull it up all the way, it gives us that Play-Doh potato face look. So we just want to bring it down just to make sure we keep some of that softness. We don't want to turn the pores into craters, but we also don't want to eliminate the pores and make her look like a pancake. So that mixture between the masking and the luminance would really help with that. I got mine set to 83, masking about 28, luminance 15. Literally any numbers around these, like approximately these numbers, you should be fine. And then sometimes I'll go into my effects even, and then I'll take my texture, hover my mouse over it, press up on the up key, +5, maybe +10, smooth. And then, for those on mobile, you can just go up to 10, should be solid. And then for clarity, same thing. Hover it above, use my key, press up one more time. And as you can see, it kind of creates like a little bit of definement between certain lines, and it can add like a little bit of a little bump to just like that detail. Very slight, but we don't want to go crazy. I'm probably gonna keep it right at 10, right? Bam. So just before and after real quick, right? Already has a little bit of difference. Let's go in just to see that separation. You can see just a little bit more sharpness and detail that we're pulling out of that image already, right? Say that again. For sure. So now what I'm also seeing is that we did lose a little bit of color when it came to the white balance. I do like the warmth tone on her. So what I'm going to probably do is I'm going to go into color, and remember, we're not going to change our temperature. That's to balance the light, right? If we want to add any type of like tints or haze or whatever, like that comes from our color grading, right? If we want to have like a warm look and have like a little bit more oranges on it, don't use the temperature, right? You want to use your color grading, because what that does is it gives us a more global adjustment, which basically means that the balance that we need to maintain between colors and the relationship between different colors, that's in consideration as we adjust the global slider, right? If we were to just go put yellow on this thing, it's not considering the balance between the red and the black and the blue. It's just throwing yellow on top, right? We don't want that. We want to maintain that relationship between the colors and that balance that we want to maintain, right? So I'm probably going to go right into global, right? We're going to come in, we're going at 33. Not too close, but close enough to where I can see some of these differences. And then I'm going to grab my slider. I'm probably going to come up to give it a little bit of orange. And right now I'm just kind of playing around and just seeing where the colors fall in a way that like I like, right? So somewhere like around here is cool, right? I like that. A little yellow, boom. And as you can see, what's really dope is like these are color values and they all have numerical values. So if it's easy for you all, if you don't want to try to eyeball it yourself, you can just use 45 for hue, 19 for saturation. Follow along in terms of like what I'm adjusting, but you don't have to create the same image, right? If you like, I like this a little bit bluer, make those decisions, right? I'm just kind of walking through the sliders and the drop down windows and what does what, but take the direction that you want to take when it comes to processing this image. This is more so just a refresher on what does what and where it is, right? So yeah, I'm probably gonna go with 45 and 19 for my hue and my saturation, and then I'm gonna bring up my luminance just a little bit right there to like maybe 30, because I know I'm gonna go into my curves and get some more of that light relationship that I'm looking for. So color is solid, not mad at it. Now I'm going to go up to my light. There isn't as much I need to adjust in terms of the exposure. I'm very happy with the way this image was exposed. So now all I'm probably going to do is I'm going to bring down my contrast just a little bit, because I want to make sure I'm separating some of those really darks and those real brights, just to kind of like make those adjustments I'm about to make a little bit less harsh. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit right there. And you can see that difference, right? It's a lot more darker shadows. I'm just kind of bringing out some of the detail in those dark areas, because I know I'm about to bring my brights down a little bit. I'm going to bring my darks down a little bit more, right? Yes. Question. We got a question in the chat. It says, I love the reds and I like deepening them, but I don't want the red in her face to be too prominent. What would you do if you wanted to emphasize the red in the backdrop without emphasizing the red around her nose and eyelids? Okay, so I will show you how to do that right now. Right, so if we go into our color picker, right, Olive wanted to know how are we going to adjust the reds in just one specific area, right? And we talked about this. We want to adjust the red in one thing. If we go to our color mixer and we select red and we bring them down, what do we get? oh no, the red in her face is being adjusted, the red on her lips is being adjusted. There's a lot of areas of the red that are changing, and not just in the backdrop that we want, right? And what Olive wants specifically is um to the deepening of the reds, but don't want to adjust the red in the face and the lips to be too prominent, right? So what we can do is, and this is a more advanced question. So for those who have, the full Lightroom app, this is for you mainly. But that's where our masking tool is really going to come in, right? If you go to your masking tool, which it was really dope about it is that you click the masking and then it gives you an option to kind of like automatically pick out background, sky, subject, things like that. And so if you want to adjust something specifically with the background, you can click background and it's going to automatically or try its best to detect that. As you can see here, it's detecting background, detecting 1 minute. Cool. Bam. And so here it picked out as much as what it believes to be the background. And so what's dope is once you have that, now you can go in and say if you want to add, if you're happy with the selection, you can leave it as is. If you're not happy, you can make some small adjustments, which I probably would do because there's some areas like right here in the hair where it has selected, and there's some like, fall off here on this area. You hit the subtraction tool, right? And basically what that is, it gives you the option to subtract specific areas of the area of what was selected. So we just go in and hit subtract. I'm going to go to my brush tool, and what that does is when it's on subtract, and you can know when it's on subtract if you either hold the Alt key, you see it turns into a minus. If I keep it on plus, basically what that means is it's drawing more of the area that's being selected. We want to go into Alt and get rid of the red area so that we can minimize how much is being selected, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to hold down our space bar that pulls up the hand so that we can move the thing around, and we're going to hold Alt, right? Bring down our size of the brush, and we're just going to erase some of these areas that we don't want to have um, with the background. We want to make sure we have that selected as well, right? Go in, select, brush, and it should, oh, geez Louise. So that's going to help us erase some of the area, right? It's supposed to let us erase some of the area. Backdrop, there we go. Background, okay. It's supposed to let us erase. Well, let me figure it out. But you're supposed to select this area. That's going to help you erase that background area. And it's honestly not too much reds in her skin. It's mostly in her lips and her eyelids. And so now that we have that background selected, all of the adjustments that we have here on this sidebar, that's going to now be affected specifically, right? So we can adjust the exposure on just the background, and all the areas that had that red selected gives us the specific isolation. So now that that's selected, you should be able to go down and find your color and just adjust the hue to whatever you need it to be, or you can bring down the saturation specifically to the reds. So we can bring down the intensity, or we can bring up the intensity as we see fit, and the rest of her and the areas that aren't selected won't be affected, right? So we go down, so we bring this down, bring it up, and that's how you would go about adjusting. The downside of using the auto select tool sometimes is that it doesn't give you the area that you're looking for, like we just saw. I mean, it got it for the most part, but sometimes it's not the most accurate, and then adjusting that can't always be. It can kind of be a pain in some ways, but yeah, that's the route that you would go about for adjusting specific areas, especially when you know that that color is being affected in in other parts of the image. Um, so let's go back to light. So did I answer your question? Was that helpful?
Yes, that's great. I've never figured out how to use the masking tool in Lightroom. So that's awesome.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. After we get through like the basic rundown, I'm gonna go back deeper into the masking and talk about that as well. Um, so now we're back on light. I'm pretty happy with the exposure here. Like I said, for this tab, I don't like to do too many like heavy lighting effects and adjustments in the sliders. I like to do that with my curves. But for here, I just wanted to kind of get a more balanced image. And like we said, I brought down my contrast to kind of help with the softening of those shadows. And then I actually might come up with my shadows just a tad bit. Because what I'm going to do is now I'm going to my curves. I'm going to make those adjustments. And just like we talked about with the global color grading slider, the curves tool, it's meant to maintain that balance between all these things, right? Because if I were to make an adjustment here and I bring up my shadows, it creates a visual imbalance between the relationship of the lights and the darks. Because if it's going to be light here, it's supposed to be dark here, blah, 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 right? So what you do is to subsidize that is to mitigate that, I mean, is you use a curve tool because it maintains that balance between all of those images for the most part. Obviously, if you go too extreme on one side, it could still get kind of funky. But it makes its best to an attempt to keep that relationship as natural as it can as you make these adjustments, right? So as you can see with this curve here, if I bring this down in any direction, it kind of adjusts and affects all these other areas to varying degrees based on how close it is to the adjustment. So, like we did in class, we made our separations between these areas. And the way that I look at it is that, you know, we know that the top right is going to be our whites, and the bottom left is going to be our darks. So if we put a plot point at the intersection of each one of these lines, we basically create the same separation of exposure sliders up here, which is our blacks, shadows, whites, and our highlights. I like to think of it that way because, this whole range, right? This square, it's gonna affect a lot of the light areas, right? Like if we pull this up and down, you can see the areas where the light is hitting her is what's being affected, right? That's our whites. And if we look at this area here, right, our highlights, that's going to be like the areas of light that are the most concentrated. So the areas with the most shine, and you can see that it's making that distinction, right? Same thing with our shadows, kind of showing that shadowy area, and then same thing with our blacks, it's showing the deepest parts and the most rich areas where there's darkness. And it was cool about that and putting these plot points is that, as you saw before, when there were no plot points, any adjustment affected a large portion of the entire spectrum of light. But now, if I wanted to make an adjustment with my with my shadows and my darks, it will minorly adjust some of the lights and the whites, but it's very, very small in comparison. Like it kind of keeps that anchoring point so they don't move too dramatically when I make my adjustments here. So that allows me to kind of like add a little bit of darkness without changing too much about our whites and lights, but it still tries to maintain a moderate balance, right? And because of the fact that there's no anchor points between the top of the shadows and the bottom of the blacks, it really maintains that relationship and keeps the balance in the dark areas. And then sometimes you can do that with the whites as well and create like really cool relationship effects. So like you see here, remember when we tried to adjust just the whites, it created like this really weird balancing effect, right? Like it doesn't match. But when we use this area in between the whites and the highlights, even though it's taking out the whites in her face, it still has a decently balanced look to where it's kind of vibey even, right? It's a cool creative look. And so it gives us the ability to affect light in ways that isn't going to be super duper off-putting, and it gives you a lot more control in terms of just like really interesting, creative, and unique approaches to that lighting relationship. So, but how we're going to use it right now is I'm going to use it to kind of like deepen some of the blacks, because remember we brought our contrast down and we lost some of the detail in our darks. So I'm just going to bring some of that back, and I'm doing that in curves instead of like going into our blacks, because it just helps maintain a cool relationship between the whites and the lights. Because like, look, if we come here and we bring that down, it looks similar, but to me, it just gives it a lot more of a balanced look, and it kind of gives us an opportunity to adjust a smaller area, and then also come in at a plot point, and then we can go in with our smoky look, like we know, right? We can go in, bring our smokiness up to like really give us a cool look and effect. You know, you really just can't do that with the sliders alone, right? Um, so this is pretty cool. Let me adjust this a little bit because I do want to kind of keep that balance between the whites and the lights. I don't want it to get too out of hand. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Not too much right there, like right there. Bam. And then I'm going to bring my highlights. I'm going to bring my highlights down. I don't really want it to be too bright. And that, like, flattening out my highlights sometimes for me is kind of a cool look. I don't want it to be too smoky. I want it to be just a little bit right there. As I'm looking, I can see there's a little area that we missed when it comes to our spot removal. So I'm going to open up my spot removal tool again. I'm just going to click this area. Boom, boom. Hopefully that extends out that backdrop, or at the very least shrouds it in darkness. Perfect. Works out. Cool. And then now I'm probably going to go in with my contrast again, bring that down, bring my exposure down one tick, contrast down another tick, and then I'm probably going to come down and get my vibrance and bring that down a little bit, because I just want to kill some of that intensity of color. I really like it for with some of my colors, depending on the shoots. I want it to be very soft, approachable. I don't want it to be too crazy. And now I'm bringing up my exposure again because I just need to see how the color looked. Bringing up my exposure a bit more, bringing down my contrast a bit more, and then I'm going to bring this light down because I think the lights in her face are a little getting a little out of hand. So something like this, right? Bam. I'm not mad at this. I like this. It's a nice, basic, balanced, like relationship between some of the lights, between some of the colors. Not mad at this. Now the only thing I want to do now is I want to go in. I'm going to clean up some of the rest of the blemishes that I want to get rid of. Like the first thing that comes to mind right now is like there's this area of the jean here. I think it's like a pocket. So now I'm going to go into my spot removal tool, shrink down my brush, and then I'm just going to come in, get rid of that guy. You know, I see thing right here. Just since we're here, get rid of that guy. Holding down my shift button, right? I mean, the shift key, that brings up my hand. So now I don't have to zoom out to look. I can just hold down the shift key, and now I'm just using my mouse to drag and slide around the image. Got some blemishes here. Gonna kill that. And as we leave these open, we can, make as many marks as we need. When it comes to human skin and bodies, right? There are certain types of blemishes that I do get rid of for the most part. Like pimples and you know zits, things like that, I will get rid of. And this is more of like a etiquette thing rather than a technical thing. um I don't get rid of freckles, nor do I get rid of scars unless there's a specific request from the client or the subject that I'm shooting. um yeah, because it can be a really gray area when it comes to blemish removal, so just be really careful about stuff like that. Don't get rid of birthmarks, moles, nothing like that's permanent on their body, because those can be points of insecurity for the subject, or it can be points of pride that they've grown to like hold dear to them based on whatever they may have gone through. And there's nothing more awkward than you know getting rid of like a beauty mark on somebody's face, and they're like, you got rid of my mole, and they're like, then you gotta go, oh yeah, no, like, just don't. I avoid that. Pimples obviously are a temporary thing that they didn't plan for. Get rid of those. Whitening teeth, that's a no-brainer. Zits, things like that. But scars, I tend to not get rid of that. Don't get rid of freckles. Don't get rid of beauty marks or anything like that. Just something to keep in mind because it can get funky. So like these areas right here, like these freckles and stuff, not touching them, not touching them. But like I'll see like a line here on the neck of like some discoloration that could be a reflection of the light or the backdrop, right? I'll get in there, um, hit remove just to kind of smoothen out stuff. Sometimes if you need to smoothen things out or like bring a more appealing texture to an image, like that's totally fine. But like I said again, be careful while you're out here blemish removing, right? While it's loading, if you got a cookie, take a cookie break. All right, bet. And so we're cool, right? Um, Now that we got rid of some of the blemishes on her, there are some areas in the backdrop that I kind of want to clean up. Um, this was like a brand new backdrop I got before I shot it, so they got some of the lines in it from when they, I guess, ironed it in the packaging. So I definitely want to get rid of those because that is ghetto. We don't want to have iron lines in our backdrops. Like that's one of the telltale signs that you are dealing with an amateur photographer, which we are not. We are beginners. We're not amateurs. So I want to go in. I want to get rid of some of these lines. Right, we got those highlighted. Boom, we're gonna get rid of here. And we're not gonna get rid of everything. We don't want it to be completely smooth. And me personally, I love a good like fabric wrinkle, whatever, like some drapage. I don't know. So is drapery a real word? I know drapage. Drapage is there that? I don't know. Um, yeah. So like this stuff right here, like these little lines and like the shadows and how they kind of curl over, like I love that. It's great texture. It gives feeling. It gives body. Um, I like just the way that looks. It's totally up to you. You season to taste, but it's just a great, especially when you're working with fabric backdrops. So I never want to smooth it out completely. I just literally, I just use it. I get rid of the lines. I never like to have like those, distinct iron lines. This is perfect. I see a small area right here on her hair that is kind of distracting, right? She got like a little situation. So I'm just gonna get my um just shrink my brush again. And remember, for spot removal, you want to keep your brush pretty small for the most part. You keep your brush pretty small. All right. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but because I know some people may not have this feature, but I'm just showing you like the process of like things to look for when you are removing items or other blemishes. Sometimes I'll look at like a rogue hair like this and I'll get rid of it, but because of the nature of like the curly, wavy, whatever this hairdo is called, like it's super cool and unique, and I feel like it plays well to the hairstyle, so I wouldn't get rid of this. But generally, if she had like straighter hair, I probably would have gotten rid of that. But this is solid. I'm not mad at this. I do like this a lot. How are we feeling? How do we think? Um, Anybody want to share one of their edits that they've gotten so far, or is anyone having some issues with a portion of what they're doing and want to talk about it? Are we smooth? Are we solid? Yes, no, maybe so. All right, cool beans. Yep. Let me know. Throw a thumbs up in the chat if you're solid with your edit. If you've been editing alongside me while we do this, and you're like, man, I'm cooking. This is pretty dope. Thanks. This is helpful. Throw a thumbs up in the chat. If it's not helpful, you're not feeling it, put a tomato in the chat. If you're not feeling it, you're like, man, what are you talking about? You're not helping at all. Boo, tomato, tomato. Throw that in the chat. Okay, we got another thumbs up. I was worried. I was waiting. I was ready for a tomato. I'm not gonna hold you. I was ready for a tomato. Cool. Are we ready to move on? Yes. A watermelon is crazy. I'll take it. Are we ready to move on? I have another image for indoor natural lighting. Do y'all wanna get into that? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. So yeah, I'm happy with this image. And like we talked about before, export, you can either hit Shift E, or you can go to File and Export. You can right click the image right there in your viewer, export. Just make sure you're exporting at AI updated required, whatever. What even is that? Um, when you're exporting, just make sure you're exporting at full 100% quality, full size, and just keep an eye on your file naming if that's something that you are into. Okay, moving on. So now this is a shot of a performance indoor, and natural, quote unquote natural light, meaning light that we didn't, this is not our lighting, we didn't set this up, this is the light of the space. We're not in control here. All we are in control of is our camera, right? And this is going to be a pretty common setup for some of you all, especially those who are looking to get into commercial photography. You will find yourself in consistently in spaces where you're dealing with other people's lights, and you got to make the best of that situation. So this shot, completely raw. First thing I'm doing, what stands out to you all? Excuse me. What's the first thing that stands out as a correction that needs to be made?
The lights on the stage are so bright compared to everything else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one. That's one. But what do you think is the first thing I would do when editing this image? White balance, close. That's one. Yeah, white balance is always going to be pretty important. But for me, I like to find balance. I'll crop it. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to adjust this because it's kind of at a slight little Dutch angle. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to adjust it, try to find some balance here. I can eyeball it for the most part, but a good rule of thumb is like I'm looking at the eyes, right? It's not going to be perfect. I don't want to line up her eyes like that because her head is at a slight tilt, but I definitely want to, I'm kind of keeping an eye on her eyes, and I'm trying to put it somewhere that makes the most sense. And usually when I'm lining things up, I'm looking for lines, angles, anything that's going to help me. I just use anything as a reference, right? So that's good as well. We can, if we want to, hit auto, see what it does. That's pretty decent as well. It's not bad. If we look at it, see, it's not the worst, right? But personally, I needed a little bit more. So I'm gonna hit the auto, and then I'm gonna rotate even further. I'm gonna come down, and I'm gonna crop in a little bit, put that third line right on her teeth, just because of what it looks like. And then I'm gonna try to get her as close to that third line as possible. But I don't want to crush like the framing, right? Like she's way too big in the frame, right? So the best we can do is something like this, right? Bam. So I'm cropping that in. Now, white balance is a good thing to do, but remember, these things that we go through, and not each image requires the same, process basically, right? And you don't want to go into it like dead set on making sure your white balance is set, because it might not be so obvious, especially in a situation like this where you got a bunch of lights, you got some orange lights, you got some cool lights, and it's not necessarily obvious what the white balance should be. So even if I were to not adjust my white balance in this image, I still think you come out with a pretty decent photo, because this is a unique situation, a unique environment with unique types of lighting, and you really can kind of get creative with a shot like this because it is live performance. So it's not as important that you like, oh, I need to get my neutrals very, very neutral or whatever. Like, you can if that's something that you're concerned with, but if we were to find, like, let's see if we can find like this technically would be kind of very closely a balanced image. Maybe over here, some of the gray. Yeah. So like this is close to balance, right? Like this is a technically, oh, we got gray right here. I'm tripping. Bam. So let's find one of these. So this is technically like a balanced image. But to me personally, right? Like, I like this warmth. I like this color profile. Like, this is kind of like cool, right? There's a little bit of green, and I maybe want to make it a little more magenta. So I'll go to my green slider and I'll just tap that guy up a little bit. That's too far. We're going to come back down, maybe like 5, and then maybe go to my temperature, bring it to cooler a little bit, something like that. Bam. But I really like the warmth in her skin. I like some of the warmth in the other areas. And a balanced white balance doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best route to go. Does that make sense? Yeah, does that make sense? Like, I definitely want to kind of get you guys off of like when it comes to other education and like other videos that you watch online, people talk about their process as if you gotta do this first all the time. It's a good place to start when like determining your approach, but you know, almost every image is going to be kind of different on how you approach it. Remember, the last image, the first thing that I needed to do to like really feel comfortable approaching it was adjusting some of the other areas, right? Like until I see the extension of like the backdrop in the ground, I can't even like mentally lock into the image because I know what I wanted to have going forward. So like I needed to get that area knocked out first. And then for this one, I need to get my crop first. And then I'm not mad at the lighting and the color. So I'm cool with that. But what I do generally do always, no matter what, generally, is I'm going into my detail and I'm going to add that layer of sharpening. Boom. Right? Now, remember what we can do. What we also can do, we can copy some settings and we can paste them, but we're going to just do this again for the sake of the practice. So I'm going back in. We're not going to red. Red is dead. I like to sharpen somewhere around like, you know, maybe 60 or so. It's already a pretty sharp image, so we don't need to like crush it with like the sharpening. But as you can see, there's some softness around the eyes. So if I can come in, bring back some of that detail, come up to like 75 is cool. And then we're going into our masking because as we can see, there's some crunchiness around the nose, around some of these other areas. Masking is going to help us put the softness back in the areas that we don't want sharp and sharpen the areas that we do want. So I'm probably going to sit somewhere around 40, right? Somewhere around 40 is solid. And then I'm going to go down to my noise reduction, my luminance. I'm going to bring it up slightly to like 15. 15 ain't slight, is it? I don't know. 10. We'll put it on 10. And so we'll just look at it before and after. And remember, you can use I always forget. I forget the key. I'm going to put it in the chat. But like this key. Like the key that has those joints, backslash line, whatever. You hit that, you can use your you can see before and after on keyboard. I mean on PC. If you're using mobile, whether that's tablet or your cell phone, you can see your before and after image by just holding down on the photo, like the actual space where the photo is, not on the side with the sliders, right? So we're gonna go back and forth and just look at that.
I'm sorry. What did you say for the computer?
For computer, you're gonna hit that backspace. If you look in the chat, you'll see the key that I just pressed. You hit that key. It's like literally it's underneath backspace and right above enter.
Okay, got you. See it. Do it.
Yep.
It did it. All right.
I forget the name of it, but if you hit that, that's gonna show you before and after. And every now and then, while I'm editing, I'll hit that just to see, making sure I'm not getting too far from reality. And as you can see, we kept some of the color in her face, like most of it. And really what we did was we just made sure the background and the rest of the environment had some balance. Cause like you see in the back on this like wood house building, whatever, like it's very green. It's very, very green. And I didn't really notice how green it was until I introduced that blue and seeing them side by side. So it was a good choice, kind of like balancing that out, right? Cool beans. So now we got the sharpness. We got a good little crop going. I'm probably going to go in. I'm going to crop in a little bit more because some of this stuff up in the ceiling is irking my nerves. So I'm going to bring that down. Not too much because like I said, I don't want her to lose too much of the framing property. Let's see how this looks. That's not bad. Okay, cool. So I just brought mine down to get rid of this like little wire thing. Like that's so ugly. So I just want to get rid of that wire. I came literally down to like the bottom of that square piece. I'm cool with that. I like that. We're not gonna go too deep into like spot removal for this one because we did a lot of that in the last image. But sometimes I like to get rid of things that are going to be really distracting or not useful. Sometimes I don't want to do it too much because I want to maintain the artistic integrity of the image that I got. But in certain situations like this, right, like I'm shooting for a show or for a client or whatever, I'm gonna spot remove damn near all of this shit. Like this is crazy. Like the cords for the instruments, like that's fine, but like this random socket, I hate it. This fire extinguisher, I hate it. The freaking what is this even called? The inspection certification stuff. Like I can't believe they even got this on the front of the building like this. But I would get rid of all this if I could, because I hate it. But it's really kind of your own thing, right? It's your own thing. But we're not gonna do that right now. So we got this cool image. We got decent color. We got decent lighting. This is very, very bright. Very, very bright. So what I'll probably go in first, because I just want to see. I'm just testing the temperature, testing the water. I'm seeing where everything is at. I'm grabbing my highlights and I'm bringing them all the way down. Because I just want to see how it looks when I bring it down like that and how it affects it is. Now, I'm not super upset about this. Like, it's very, very bright. It is distracting, but it doesn't break the image for me, right? It doesn't break the image for me. So if we can, we're going to probably try to make that adjustment. I'm probably going to go right into my curves. Just see what we can do. See what we can do about that. Put my plot points right there on my intersection. I'm going to bring down my highlights. And like, as you can see, because remember, we're able to like adjust a very specific area. And like, that's what's so cool about the curves, dude. Like, you see before, right? We tried to bring our highlights down. That did what? It crushed this light over here. It crushed the light in her face. It crushed the light in a bunch of different areas, right? Same thing with the whites. Like, it brought down some areas, but it didn't really bring it down to the degree that we felt comfortable, right? Like, you can only go down so much, right? And it's still affecting a lot of the other areas in the photo. But when we put our plot points and we made sure we had our anchors so it didn't do too much adjustment when it came to our whites, our shadows, and our blacks. And then we come down here at the very top of the right. That's our highlights, our highest highlights. We bring that down. You see how we're able to like really like diffuse that light and just kind of smush it down, right? It's not until we get like really, really low that we start seeing the effects on like the things around us. You feel me? And so even if we add another anchor point, we might be able to get even more dramatic. And so now we're really adjusting just those highlights. And as you can see, it's really not changing much into her face at all. So if you can use the masking like we talked about before, right? The masking, you can use that for color, you can do that for lights. But just to be quick and sometimes for efficiency, you might just go into your curves, make that adjustment, bring that light down like that. Straight like that. Bam. And that's because we can't get rid of the light because of how much the light affects the rest of the image, right? Like, it's brightening this area, it's creating like a cool hair light. So we don't want to destroy it. We don't want to eliminate it. We just want to soften it and make it less distracting. So by bringing down some of the detail and the quality, helps it be less distracting in my opinion, right? What do you think, Olive?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I will say your camera image is like over the bottom of the curve.
Oh my gosh.
So if you're gonna adjust anything at the bottom, scoot it over.
Get them out of here. All right. So hopefully that's a lot better. That's way better place. That's where I should be. So yeah, I'm going for a curve adjustment like that because it's, we can't get rid of the light. Nope, there's no way we can get rid of the light, but we can at the very least try to minimize the distraction. Let's check out the before and after, right? And honestly, just by taking out some of the detail in it can help minimize this distraction too as well. I'm not super upset at it, so I'm not going to try to crush it all the way, but I'm going to bring it down like that. Maybe even bring down this area a little bit, right? Not too bad. Something like that. Very, very cute, very demure. And then also, for that adjustment, I'm going to bring down my contrast a little bit as well, just to kind of like, soften out some of the contrast between the lights and the darks, right? Bring up my shadow a little bit, bring down my black a little bit, and then I'm probably going to pull down a tad bit right here in between my blacks and my shadows because we did lose the detail in the when we brought our contrast down. And then for this image, I'm going to add come on, bro, come on. There we go. Then add one little plot point because I'm going to add like a little smoky effect on this. Very slight, nothing crazy. Right up here. Like right there. Bam. Because I like to, because I know I'm going to add a little bit of grain to this image. And I just want that texture in the blacks to just kind of bleed a little bit more. And as you can see, like look over here at this pillar. Sometimes I'll do that just to kind of like, give it a little bit more texture and like something to look at in this area in the blacks, right? Look in this corner. Very slight, but just cool, right? Bam. Now, as I'm looking at her from a distance, I feel like I need to bring down my vibrance a little bit because the skin tone color is a bit like it's a bit hot. And just to show you an example of how to crush it, like we bring it all the way down here, bring it all the way up. It shows you what we're adjusting. I'm probably going to bring this down to like -5, something like that. And I might even come down on saturation a little bit as well. Nope, we're going back up. I like that. Cool. Right? For this type of image, has a natural kind of like tint to it because of the light that's around it. So I don't really need to do any color grading. I'm probably going to come up with exposure a little bit more right there just to kind of fill out some of the light areas. And then I want to add some grain. I think that'd be a cool look. We go down to our effects tab, right? If you're one of those people that likes to close the tabs you're not using, that's totally fine. Sometimes I do that just so I'm not getting too distracted. But coming up here, realize we didn't add our texture. We're going to add the texture in here. 10, clarity, 10, and then, well, clarity 5. And then I'm going to go down to my grain. Probably put my grain up to like right here. And I can already kind of see its effect. And you see that what it's doing to the negative space. It's literally just putting some texture and some atmosphere to it, right? And then it's giving like a cool look to the rest of the image. I'm gonna increase the size of my grain to maybe 35. I do want it to be a little bit softened out. Don't mind it. Increase my roughness to maybe like what, 60. I'm actually gonna bring the grain back down to more like, let's see, like 35. And that's oftentimes, a lot of it's gonna be, adjustments, small balancing acts. A lot of times, like I'll bring it all the way up and I'll go, whoa, that's too much, and I'll just bring it down. Like right now, I'm looking at my exposure. I feel like it's a little too bright. I'm gonna bring it down one little tick. Bam, I like that. And I'm gonna bring my contrast down a little bit more just to help with the shadows. Bam. A lot more of an even look when it comes to the shadows and darkness recognitions. Now this has a older process, and this was kind of the intent. I wanted to give it like a more of a retro look, add the grain for the atmosphere. Not mad at it at all. Kind of feeling this. Let's look at it before and after. You see that? Approaches a little bit more of a neutral look, but still keeps the warmness in her skin. You can't see when you do the before and after. You can't see your crop and like rotation adjustments, but I like this. I'm not mad at this. I'm not mad at this at all. At all. Right? How y'all feel? What do you guys think? Critique it. Critique my work. What do y'all like? What do you not like about it?
I mean, depending on who your audience is, you could maybe like crop it in on just her, right? And just
Very
make
true.
it like a portrait.
Very true. And if I want to do something like that, right, I can go to crop. And what's really cool about this, I can just use the rotation tool because I know it's already 3x2, right? So that's the aspect ratio of my camera. So instead of trying to like do the adjustment where like I go like, I gotta do this, I'm trying to crop it around her and blah, blah, blah. And you might lose the aspect ratio that you had and say you just wanted it to be like that thing. And like now you gotta guess and you don't know what the aspect ratio is going to be, right? Instead, if we were to go, what did we do before? We're gonna go back. So this is how this is how we had it before. So instead, what you can do is when you have your aspect ratio locked, you can just rotate the entire aspect ratio. Boom. So it's the same aspect ratio you had before. You just rotate it to vertical, which is essentially the equivalent of you turning your camera to the side. And then you rotate it and you drop it wherever you need. Bam. That's also a good call. Totally viable option. Totally viable option. Like very solid. Now, great. Now you got a portrait mode, a portrait shot, which can be solid. So totally up to you. Totally up to you. Any questions or concerns about that at all? We feel good about that? I think so.
Yeah. This was that was a real show, or was this a shoot?
This is a real show. This is like I was just pulling up. Like I wasn't. This is my first time in the space. I didn't really know what to expect. But I had my camera, and I was prepared. This over here
It's
at the I
real
forget.
nice.
Say again.
It looked like it was staged, like it was a
Oh
like
yeah,
a real like a commercial shoot, like where like something. Yeah,
heck,
looks
that's
nice.
fire. I really liked how these turned out. I was grateful, and I got blessed that the light was you know reasonable. Showing Explorer. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to find the image. This is what is it? JPEG. How do I man? So basically what that means is I have this in my Lightroom already and it's not gonna show me. Let me see if I can just search it. Let me see if I can just search it and see if I can find it. All photos. We're going to go. What number is that? 758. That's one of my scenes. I got different scenes set for this. Hold on. Like, let me see. What are the scenes I got? So, bam, here's the shot I wanted to edit. This one right here. So, we're going to reset this because right now it is not. Oh, I can just reset all settings, right? Yep. Bam. So, we're going to start from scratch. We got a natural light shot outside with the sun. Nice setup, nice decent lighting, but it needs some work, right? It needs some work. Number one, what I'm doing is I'm coming in, going for a rotate, finding some balance. Now, because it's dance, you do have a lot more space to like get kind of funky when it comes to your cropping, right? And what's really cool about dance or things in action is that you can either go for a really balanced look and it can work, or if you wanted to, when you see dance, you can go for like a really dramatic angle, right? And it still can work because oftentimes what I've noticed when I'm shooting dance, if I shoot things at a Dutch angle, right? Um, whereas side chicks matter is crazy. I never noticed that. That's insane. Um, but yeah, what I've noticed is when I'm shooting action or dance or events, any type of like motion or movement, and I really want to illustrate like the hypeness, the excitement of that scene, shooting at a weird angle can really be interesting and unique. You can see that in a shot right here, right? Like you can do something like that. It can go crazy. Um, so for this shot, I want to go for a more modest crop and rotation. I want to get some more balance. So I'm kind of cropping in. Love that we have her in the background, right? We got, side chick McGee over here. And, those are good things to add because it keeps with the composition, right? If we look at the original image, we got some negative space here that isn't necessarily good for us. Negative space here that isn't good for us. Her in being included is cool, but remember, she is a supporting cast member. She's not the main top billing actor. So what we can do is we're going to crop in and kind of cut out the negative space that we don't need. And I don't like these knuckles. So we honestly can come in a little bit more and then probably come in more right here. Bam. Right. Try to put her eyes. So I don't think we may have to just deal with these knuckles because I want to put her eyes on this third line or a little bit above. Right. So it is what it is. Maybe we can go for a little bit more of a rotation here, and we can do that. Yeah, that's a good option because I do want to keep her in, right? Bam. Boom. So cool, interesting crop. Now that we got that, I'm going back down to my detail. Going to make a couple bright sharpness adjustments. Put this thing, and listen, you don't have to be super duper accurate and like nerdy about it. You know, if you want, for the most part, when I'm starting with a different gallery, you know, I don't have like a particular number that I work with, right? Sometimes in certain images require different levels of sharpening. But for a good baseline, I kind of keep it right here in the middle for the most part. Bring my masking up, maybe half of whatever my sharpening is, and then my luminance is going to be just a little smidgen. Um, and then if I'm working with a larger gallery of images, I hit copy when I do those sharpness settings, and then I just paste those all throughout. That way I don't have to go back and adjust one for each image, each image, each image. Bam. So we got our sharpening. We're gonna go into our effects. Remember, we're gonna add a little bit of texture just to bump. Put that on 10. Clarity. Put that on 5. Because remember, you want to be careful with your clarity because you know that thing can get really out of hand. We don't like that. That looks scary. Um, and then honestly, we can probably bring our masking up a little bit more because you know we don't want too much of her face to be too sharp. We're probably just gonna come in with a little bit more luminance. Bam. Solid. So now, one thing that stands out to me about this image is that the sky is kind of really blown out. And I want to bring in some of that blue. I want to bring in some of that blue. I want to bring in some of that color. This is a very vibrant, cool look. And I think that's bringing out the blue in the sky will help not it'll help the negative space of that sky not be so like blech. It's like blech right now. So I'm probably gonna go into my color. Remember, we have our color mixer and we have our color grading. We're on our mixer because it gives us all these cool options and color ranges that we can adjust the hue and the saturation and the luminance for specifically. Um, so I'm gonna go in first to my aqua because that's the sky's gonna I think be a little more aqua. We can check by adjusting the luminance and seeing what changes, right? So some of it is aqua, and then let's see how much is what's this? But it's blue. Live is blue. Bam. Right? And so as you can see, the sky is made up of some blue and some aqua. So when we make our adjustments for the sky, we have to make sure we make the same adjustments or similar adjustments to maintain that balance, right? And we talked about this, I think, last week during our feedback session, was like sometimes we can make small adjustments to colors. And if we're not mindful of that balance, we'll end up creating really weird relationships between the other visual elements of the image, right? So, for example, if I go in and make my adjustments to my blue, right, you see those lines? That's another color that's affected by the change, but we didn't change it with it. That's a little bit purple. If we change the purple or we make it brighter, whatever, that can help kinda, right? And we need to go into our aqua. We make that adjustment. That can help kinda. Some of that's green. We gotta see. Like it takes a little bit more attention when it comes to adjusting those colors to find that balance that was there before, right? Um, so that's just something to be really mindful of. Even the hue can be a thing. The luminance, all types of things can be adjusted and changed when you're making those changes to a specific color. So just keep that in mind. And oftentimes you'll see those adjustments become really dramatic in like those background artifacts and those small details. So I do want to change the color of the sky a little bit. Like I just want not really change the color. I just want to bring out some of the like the what do you call it, the vividness of it. So I'm going to bring it down very slightly. We're not going to go crazy. We're just going to bring it down just a little bit right there. Bring the saturation up just a little bit. And then same thing with my aqua. Going to come down pretty much the same or similar distance. Bring down up the saturation a little bit. And then we know some of that purple is in there a little bit in those in these trees, right? So we just want to kind of respect that difference and like maintain that balance as much as we can. I'm bringing it down a little bit and then probably bring down my saturation a little bit. Bam. And just a cool little term just for you guys to know. Oftentimes when you take pictures of things and objects, especially in direct sunlight, you'll see that you have the object here, but then like there's a little highlight of color that comes off of the object, right? Like here we got this black object, but we have a blue line around it, right? Green leaves, blue line, right? And sometimes it'll be blue. Some subject matter you'll find it'll be kind of purplish. It just depends on what you're shooting. I'm trying to find and see if we can find some of the purple lines. But it's cool. What that's called, see, lines are here. What that's called is chromatic aberration. Chromatic aberration. Some cameras it'll be more severe. I think in DSLRs, it's you'll get more chromatic aberration, depending on where you're shooting, depending on the light where it's at. Very common when done amongst like shooting in sunlight. What's cool about Lightroom, they do have if you go to optics, where you'll find your lens corrections, they do have a remove chromatic aberration tool. It's decent. It's not perfect, but it's decent. You know, like you can kind of see it here if we look at it. You know, like it does its best. Listen, can we see the adjustment real time? Like it's very slight, and for here the chromatic aberration is so strong, it doesn't like you can barely see it. Like it's trying to do it, but it ain't doing it. But in situations where you might have like purple chromatic aberration and you're shooting it with portraits, it can be a lot stronger. I digress. So I brought a little bit more blueness to the sky. Remember, we don't want to make it super crazy because it'll look odd, but we just wanted to add a little bit. And so just to give you an example, right? Just a tad, just a smidgen, just a little touch, right? Just a little touch. There are some other areas that were affected by the blue adjustments that we made, but they're not photo breaking to me, right? We got some blue in her shirt right here, but that's just the blueness in the shadow, right? Some blueness here looks kind of funky. It does look a little funky. I'm not gonna lie, but we know how to fix that, right? Remember, we can go into our masking tool, we get our brush, and we're just gonna go. We're gonna get our brush tool. We're gonna just highlight those areas where the blue is, right there, and then the areas right here on her chest. Bam, we got a little area right there as well, and then some underneath there. Bam, whatever. Wow. And then once we do that, we go down to our color. Um, ooh, we go into our color, and then we go to our color, select the color in the photo. We're gonna pick the blue right here. Bam. And so now what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna bring the saturation down, because that's what we did. We brought the saturation up in the blue, so we're just gonna bring it back down, and then maybe even we can bring our luminance shift, which to kind of like add more white to it. Bam. So that just brings the blue back down that we added to it with the other color picker. As you can see, we're good. We're back to square one. We're back to normal. We adjusted his shirt as well, but it's not that bad. It looks okay. Now, boom. Let's go back up to our light. I'm not mad at the exposure here either. I do want to go in and add like a little bit of a color gradient whenever I'm outside and I'm shooting outdoors, especially in the sunlight. I love to just put like a little bit of warmth on it, just to kind of like just give that vibe. Plus, because that's what I see. There is warmth that is present, and oftentimes when you take photos and how it translates, can you can destroy or get rid of a large bit of that warmth and that color quality. So I'm coming up here, and I remember the color for last time that we used was kind of like a slight warmth, but we're gonna probably go a little bit more dramatic here. So we're gonna go a little bit further out. So something like that. Like I love that. Go a little bit more on the yellow, bring it out a little bit more. Bam. So now we're at like 50. We can make that Bam. My fault, gang. I sometimes when I hit my keys, the the keys to switch scenes are certain number keys, and I always forget which ones. I gotta change that. Um, but yeah, so I got my plot points right here on each intersection, and I'm gonna just bring down some of my whites, my shadows, and my darks because and you'll see that I do that pretty often when I'm editing, right? Like I'm bringing down my shadows and my darks because that richness of the blacks, you lose that sometimes because of the softness of the light that passes through your lens and then hits the mirror or it goes through the eyepiece, whatever. Sometimes you lose that richness, so I like to bring that back sometimes to give like a natural contrast with my darks and my whites. So I just kind of bring my remember this one's our shadows and our blacks. So I kind of bring them both down a little bit here. And then sometimes what people will do is they'll bring down their blacks a little bit and then they'll bring up their whites a little bit to kind of like create a interesting separation of light, right? Um that's what's called an S curve. And sometimes, it's a good general way to process certain types of light in images, but a lot of people kind of live or die by it and they just OD it. And that's not necessarily the best thing you can do all the time. But you can put your S curve on something, bring down the contrast, and find like a nice, cool, like balanced lighting here, right? So like, and you can kind of see it's kind of like a little bit of an S, and which can be cool. And then to really like sell the S is like you can curve this up to give yourself that smokiness, and then you curve this down to kind of like flatten out some of the whites, and that gives you like that's like your quintessential like travel photography look. It's the little smoky blacks, little flat whites, and then your deeps blacks and shadows are um kind of a little bit more contrasty and your whites are a little bit more bright. It's cool, but it definitely has a look to it that's just kind of played out in my opinion. um but do you, boo boo. um but yeah, so we're gonna kind of keep this here. We're not gonna do our S curve. I just want a slight contrast here with my darks and my whites. We got the color grade on it. That's decent. Let's look at our before and after. As you can see, the bringing out the blue, adding that orange tone on top, adding that contrast in the shadows, like just kind of gives it a little bit more body, a little bit more pop, right? A little bit more pop. The chromatic aberration in the background does go a little bit crazy because we did bring out, we did we brought out the blue, which means we brought down the brightness, which kind of brought out the blues here. Sometimes what you can do, which can be really interesting, is like if you go to color picker, right? You can use this tool, target adjustment, which allows you to go in and like fine tune to find a specific color, and then you can adjust that color based on that, right? So let's see. If we were go in and like, hold on, let's go back in right here. If we use our target adjustment and then say we try to um adjust the whole color that way, you can use that to kind of like find it. Why is it acting weird? Hold on. I might need to restart the thing. Cause it's in the same way that you use your like white balance color picker. Um that same tool where you use your target adjustment, you pick the specific color that you want to change or you want to adjust. When you click that, then it starts to use some type of universal selection technology, and then it'll allow you that option there. Give me 1 second. I'm just reopening Lightroom. Especially when the more you use certain types of like of the AI and the generative AI tools, sometimes it can bog it down, and especially with the new Lightrooms, it can definitely get kind of funky. So let me go back in. All right, we right here with it. Bam. All right. So, bam. What did I change? Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Cool. So let's go back in. Let's see if it gives us the option. We're gonna hit the color picker. And so now what it does is we see this thing pulls up. Oh geez. Bet. We got our luminance, we got our hue, we got our saturation, and then It's supposed to be pulling up the thing. There we go. So what you do is once it's up, you go to the color you want, you click and you hold down. And so now we can go in if we want, we can just slide across the color wheel. We can either go further to where we want it or not. We can pick a luminance, do the same thing. We click and hold. We can either make it brighter, we can make it darker, whatever, right? And then you also have saturation, pick the color, brighter, darker. So it's a kind of a more of a universal um like adjustment tool, which can be really fun, right? Because instead of going in and now you're like, you know, here tinkering with the thing, you can look at it and make those adjustments like in real time. So say if I want to just look at all the reds, I can go in, I pick my, remember right here on color mixer, hit the the target adjustment. This pulls up and you just hit the thing you want to change. Right now, say if we wanted to change the color of all of the reds in the image, click that, pulls up the wheel. You just hold down the click. We go here, and it makes that adjustment right there in real time in front of us. We don't want to actually change that. We're gonna hit that undo. We're gonna see if we can change the luminance. The hue of like those blues there, right? So bring our blues back, bring them down. But just a cool tool, cool way to adjust that as well. Um, but overall, I'm okay with this image. Probably would come up a little bit more exposure, add a little bit more contrast, tap in the shadows, right? Like we can use our curves tool, but sometimes just for speed, you just moving around with your mouse, hovering above the thing, and using your arrow key to just tap to make those adjustments as well, right? Sometimes, a lot of times, I might be editing like that, especially if I'm making a bunch of micro adjustments, right? So like a shoot like this, right, where you see all these different shots in similar areas. That's where I'm probably going through and I'm just making like quick little micro adjustments. Like I'll copy, I'll paste, go to the next image, and then I'll just go here, exposure up. This one might need to come down. Click this image. This is a little too bright. Hover over, exposure down. And remember, if you're dealing with a lot of images that have similar exposures, you just copy your settings with Control C. You go over a few of them, Shift Select, which selects multiple in that, and then when you hit Control V, then you're going to paste your images, and that's what's going to allow you to kind of like fly through and then start to make a bunch of those like micro adjustments, based on what you're shooting, right? Boom, like here it's a little bit brighter. Let's go back. This image was a little bit brighter. I'm probably going to just hover my mouse over it and just tap down or tap up, given what I'm trying to do, right? That's one of my favorite things to do, right? Like I'm just hovering my mouse over the thing I want to adjust, and then up and down allows me to make that adjustment, right? And so I'm just here, boom, and like at that point you're just like flying, right? Boom, and then you hit left on the key, you go to the next image, right? Boom, next on left on the key, next image, left, next image, and and sometimes what I'll do is I'll copy and I'll paste, right? And once I copy and I paste, I'm just now going through and making micro adjustments. Like I'll show you, for an example, right? I just did these images earlier, right? I'll spend my time adjusting one shot. Boom, boom, boom. I'll get the look. All these looks are similar. I copy, select all, hit paste, and then now as I'm editing, I hit copy, boom. I'm looking for what I want to do. These are all natural light. These photos are all natural light. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love those shots. Those are from the Weekender event a while ago. But yeah, so like most of the time when I'm editing, literally I'll put my mouse right there on exposure because I know that's going to be the main thing I adjust. And so I just hit copy. And I'm kind of flying through this image. I probably want to do it, and I'll just hit up and down. Bam. Next one. Let's see. Bring that up. Next one. It's a little bit bright. Bring that down. Just tap it. And right now, if you look at my hands, I have one hand on Control C and then arrow keys, and I'm just flying through, right? Going left and right, and I'm just looking for things that I don't like. This one's a little bit too bright. Gonna probably bring this down. Honestly, got to bring the black stuff on here, so I need to move my mouse a little bit. Bam. Put it back on exposure. Now I'm going back through. Right? This is a little bit bright. Bring that down. This one's cool. Bring that down. Boom. Boom. Yep. Keep going. Go back. This one's a little bit bright. Bring that down. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. This is cool. This is cool. This one's a little dark. Bring that up. This one's a little bright. Bring that down. And like this is the process, right? When I'm editing, like this is what it looks like for the most part, because I spent all of the time that I needed editing that first image, a part of that gallery, right? And that's what it's, you learn the software, but then once you have the understanding, you don't spend a lot of time covering things that you don't use often. Use that knowledge to create your process, right? Once you got your process and you stay true to that process, like you'll have a lot more efficient time when it comes to editing, as well as shooting to kill, right? Making sure you don't heavily depend on the post processing experience to get those images, and just making sure that you get as close as you can to your white balance, and you make sure that your conditions are consistent. That's why learning manual is going to be really helpful, because you set your settings and then you make small adjustments. When you shoot on auto, it'll change ISO hundreds of values different. You can change your shutter speed. That values are a bunch of different values, and like your images in that full set, when you shoot on auto, you just get a bunch of different lighting types, and that'll make your editing process a lot slower, because you need to stop and edit each individual image based on that type, as opposed to a blanket setting that you can apply to all the images in that gallery, and just making micro adjustments based on small changes. Does that make sense? Does that copy?
Yes, that makes sense.
Cool beans. Cool beans. So, any questions or concerns at all? We have a couple images for the feedback, and I want to make sure we have some time. I'm going to download these to get ready for the feedback portion, but feel free to ask those questions now.
How do you get those pictures so crisp? Like, I
Yeah,
feel like when I be at events and stuff, it don't be that crispy.
and you know what? It's several things that go into it, right? Number one, I got a cheat code for you right now. So if you were to go into your camera, what do you shoot with?
A Sony A7 IV. Let me
So
get
I
my.
actually I did this for a friend of mine. Let me find this out real quick, just so you can know for certain. Um, uh, what is it? Mine. What is it?
I got my camera, so I can't.
You're
Oh,
good. I'm gonna show you right here.
okay.
So increase the JPEG quality setting to fine, enhance image sharpness and edge detail in the picture profile or creative style. So on my Canon, right? I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me go back to the class. Um, so in my camera, oh, the camera's about to die. Where's my thingamajig? Actually, here, let me put this in, because I don't want to have my sensor exposed. Um, what the heck? Oh, hold on. Bet. So when I go into my camera, I'm going to see if I can show you. Um, so when you have your picture profile, and most cameras have these, right? You have a picture profile where you can set it to like, they have like monochrome or a bunch of different like in-camera presets, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. I just found that out the other day about the picture profile.
Yeah. So picture profile, that allows you to either make things monochromatic or you know whatever. It's a bunch of different cool like little filters essentially. One of the
Yeah.
filters in Canon is called fine detail, which literally just adds a degree of like extra sharpness. It's really just a sharpness preset for your images, right? Um
Mhm.
Sony has one. Sony
Yeah,
has
because
one
I'm
as
in it
well.
right. I'm in it right now in picture profile, but all of the things say like PP1, PP2,
So you have one
PP3.
here where it says menus or set the electronic viewfinder, LCD display quality, not the display quality. We want fine detail setting in Sony images. I'll find the exact setting because I did this for the friend. I did this for the homie. But
Okay.
basically, you can set that quality. That's just I tell people to just set that by itself. Then, those extra little things we added in Lightroom, throwing in the sharpness,
Yeah.
and then also using the detail slightly, bumping up your clarity slightly. You can't necessarily increase the sharpness of an image if you didn't get the right focus. So making sure you get the right focus is rule number one. But you can definitely create the illusion of detail and sharpness by using those things in camera, in Lightroom, and the quality that you export the images as. And then of course, always, if posting is something that you're interested in when it comes to sharpness as well, making sure you have the right settings for posting will also help. Um, but yeah, that's really the main thing when it comes to maintaining sharpness when shooting events, and then also using back button focus and shooting on continuous servo mode will make sure that it continually tracks sharpness of moving subject matter while shooting events in space. um, I'll do a video on the back button focus. There's a really cool one on YouTube. I might just link you guys to that. I feel like he explains it very, very well. So I don't know if I need to um, re-explain it for you all, but it's low
Okay.
back button focus is like really it's clutch, mad clutch. We can talk more about that in detail in class on Sunday. I'll show you how to set that up. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, let's go right into our feedback sessiones. How do I go here? How do I do this? Let me know. Can y'all see this image on screen right now?
The 420.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, solid. So this is the goddess Sarah.
Hello.
What's going on? Thank you for submitting. So are these raw and then edited images?
Yes.
Nice. I mean, I love this right here. Automatically, the cropping in, adding that detail, making sure the emphasis is very clear and directed. Can't be mad
Mhm.
at that. It seems like it's kind of slanted, but the image and like the logo is even. So maybe it was on like a slanted wall, or maybe the image was slanted. So you did have a decision to make in terms of evening out the wall or evening out the actual logo. Um, so you did the best you could with that. It's not really on you, but I love the process.
I,
It's a really cool look, really cool aesthetic, honestly.
I actually didn't crop it at all, so I could kind of change it and tweak it so it's not like off center like that.
Yeah, maybe that would be
I
what it
think it could have
is.
been the way I was holding the camera.
Possibly. But I like the process that you put on it. Nice little vintage kind of smoky look, and then the green tint and the shadows. Like I think it's dope. Definitely a cool vibe. And I see that you kind of did that same replication when it came to the images with you and your friend. Like that's fire.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like I was kind of losing the skin tone and the red, like the color. So I was having a little bit of a hard time with that.
Yeah, you definitely lost some of the skin tone, but like when it comes to a vintage process, that's kind of what
Hmm.
happens. But what you can do to kind of like avoid that next time is just, um, did you use the universal or the global adjustments when it came to the color grading?
Yes.
Got it,
And I
got it.
used the graph too.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I'm not sure how you lost some of the reds, but in that situation, you can always go like
Hmm.
we showed in here. You can always go down to like if I were to come in here and I put like a global adjustment, right? And say I'm right here, bam.
Okay.
Like I lost a little bit of I lost some of the orange here on this chord, right?
Hmm.
But if I like the rest of it, what I can do is I just go up to my color mixer, I find my orange, and I just bring up the saturation, right? And then I might bring up the luminance and like maybe adjust just specifically that orange. And even though it's kind of like away from the orange now because the universal color grading kind of changed it, I can use
Hmm.
that and I can just use my adjustment tool, right? And just kind of maybe use that to like bring it back to the color that I want, right? Because the
Okay.
green kind of changes it. So like right now I can just bring it back to this red, increase the luminance on it, and then right there, bam. So you see, well, I was able to bring that
Hmm.
color back into the area that I wanted to without changing and keeping the green hue on it that I desired, right?
Okay.
And you saw just in real time how funky it can get. Cause like I assumed it was orange, but it really was more red than anything. When I adjusted the
Hmm.
red, that's what changed. So just messing around with that, that trial and error is always going to be um, your best friend. I mean, people sleep, man.
Okay.
This stuff is like scientific method. I shit you not. Um,
No cap.
but dope image, dope image. The only thing that I would have done differently is maybe increase like the exposure a little bit, brought out some of the lights, like a brighter image. I think would have been really cool too, for this look.
Okay.
But no, solid work. Otherwise, like you got the look for the little vintage process with the grain and the smokiness. Like obviously you get it. This is right on time. This is right on time.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Of course, of course. We got
I am about
Jazz.
to leave though
Say again.
because I am about to leave though because it is past my bedtime.
Absolutely. Thank
But
you for
I
staying.
have enjoyed this class and thank you for doing my pictures first actually.
Of course, of course. And before you leave, hold on, let me get a quick photo of the Discord because I got to. Bam. Be in here. Hold on. One more. Wow. All right. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank
All
you.
right.
I'll see
Have
you
a good night.
Sunday.
Yep. And so
Alrighty. Good
and we'll
night,
be
y'all.
later. And
Oh,
we'll be brief. I don't want to take up too much more of everyone's time. I know that like I always say, man, the feedback sessions, the virtual sessions, we can always get a little out of hand. I just have so much fun here. Um so number one, composition is stellar. Just a cool shot. Like you got really dynamic, interesting subject matter right here on the third line. Um Jasmine, your profile photo goes so hard. It's like a kitty bank robber. But you got this subject matter right here, and that's what I really like, right? Really creative, unique composition can be really appealing sometimes, right? Like you have the larger main subject, right? On the foreground, on the third line, but not as in focus as this other subject matter on your other third line in the background. It just creates a really unique approach to how you shoot certain things. And this is just a great capture. And shooting skateboarders is not easy, especially when they don't know you're taking pictures of them. So to get a shot like this was it was great timing, great composition. Really, really liked it. Um, yeah, really no notes to be honest. The only thing that I would say is just I'm not sure if you shot on auto or not, but I think maybe experimenting with manual mode, especially when you know you're shooting fast moving subject matter, use manual mode and shoot on a slower shutter speed to like really freeze this action. Cause I know that it's not sharp because it's not in focus, but it's also not as sharp because it's in motion and it's the shutter speed isn't fast enough to capture it. Um, I can't say if that's a result of your shutter not being fast enough or maybe you were moving. But definitely, I would say experiment with a lower shutter speed in manual mode, and that will definitely help you be able to expose a bit lower when it comes to these images and just help retain a lot more quality in the like darker details like up here. Um, but other than that, this is a very solid shot, well composed image. Um, Same here, very cool, very balanced image. I like this quite a bit. Um, Great, usage of like implementing leading lines and like incorporating some negative space to kind of give that emphasis to these folks here. A lot of people will find a shot like this and make the mistake of like throwing them right dead center, and what ends up happening is that you lose a lot of the context of what's going on, and like having the ramp here kind of just definitely keeps the emphasis right on the nose when it comes to like, hey man, this is what's going on, this is the environment they're affected by, this is going to be a cool look no matter what. um and honestly, I probably would have went for like shooting a little bit wider. That could have maybe been really unique, because if it's like the ramp is completely empty, like that emptiness and like the isolation of them being on the edge could be like a really unique shot. Um, but yeah, solid work, great composition. I would experiment with like more of like just another angle, right? Another angle, because we're not really concerned too much about what they're doing in terms of like the small details. The emptiness of this ramp is really dope, and I think more of that emptiness could have been even more dope for like a unique perspective. But no, I like this. I'm a fan.
That's interesting. This was a wider shot, but I did edit and I cropped in a lot for this
If you
for this
can you
photo.
upload the wider shot? I want to see it.
Let me see if I have it. One
You know,
second.
take your time. I'm gonna go through these other shots while you look for that. But great work. These are solid. Very, very cool. Very, very. Are these raws or are these edited? Other than cropping.
These were edited. Yeah, so I can include like the originals if you want to see the comparison.
No, we don't need to see the comparison necessarily. I just wanted to see the wider shot if you have one. That'd be really cool.
Okay.
Yep. Unless you just wanted to show the originals, that's totally fine too. Let's go to Olive. I like this. This is dope. You know what this reminds me of? It was this one shot photo shoot that my boy, what's his name? Freak. He played Thor, the guy Hemsworth. He did a photo shoot for GQ a long time ago. Let me see if I can find it. It's actually pretty funny. Hold on. Let me see.
Can I go ahead and tell my man that you said he looks like Liam Hemsworth?
Liam, exactly. You 100% can say that.
Oh, he'll enjoy that.
GQ cover. Is that no? Was it him? It wasn't him. Well, he was his brother. Is it Larry Hemsworth? What is it? Chris.
I don't know about that.
Chris
yeah,
Hemsworth.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Chris Hemsworth. I know I'm not tripping, dude. There it is. Yeah. You know, it's kind of I don't know why it reminded me of that like immediately. I was like, oh, this is very dope. White t-shirt, baseball bat.
I mean, white t-shirt, baseball bat. All right.
Come on, like what? It's spot on. This is dope. What lights were you using?
I was cheating. I had his nice light set up, so there was an LED panel out there.
That's not cheating. That is not cheating. You cooked that. That's fire. Yeah, no, I like this quite a bit. Honestly, there's really no notes in terms of like technical execution. You crushed it. Great exposure. Depth of field is solid. I think the right amount of this image is sharp. We see what we need to see, and it's very focused. Is he wearing a hat?
Yeah.
Okay, bet. So that's one thing that I would say. To really give the full detail of what's going on, another light to kind of create that rim light, remember? The rim light or that hair light,
So I couldn't figure out how to do that without like, so we had two lights, but I could not figure out how to light him from behind without the light being in the frame. Like,
yeah.
What do you do?
Often, generally, when I'm doing like rim light, I like to have it either come from up top and go down, right? Not like a straight down, but kind of like at a diagonal. And you really can put the light off camera somewhere over here and shoot it at an angle so that this fall off doesn't hit the ground here. It just kind of like hits him, right? You can either put it on the ground and aim it up. You can put it up top, and aim it down, or you put it way far off and aim it to the side. Either way, like that line of separation is going to give you a good like degree of separation between the background and the foreground, and helps with like emphasizing certain details and keeps them from like some of those details from like disappearing into the background, right? Even like the foot here, right? Like with this shadow, it's kind of like this whole leg. I mean, it's like disappearing into the background. It's not bad for here. Like this is totally fine. But if I didn't like really look in and try to inspect it, I would just be like, oh, he's not wearing a hat. Like it didn't look like he was initially. But yeah, no, otherwise that's super solid. And then just going like that next step, just for balance and emphasis, spot removal, get rid of these little things. They look like visitors from another world. I don't know what's going on. But
yeah, I feel like it looked, so it was landscape before, and those are like just like the string lights in his yard. And I was like, oh, they look cute. But then when I cropped it in, I guess it does look kind of weird.
Yeah. Like if there was more, and remember what we talked about, you cut it in or you cut it out. So it's like if we don't get all of it to give us the context and the story that it's wanting to tell us, then it might be best to cut it all the way so that it doesn't provide distraction or confusion when it comes to what it is.
Gotcha.
Right? But just technical execution, completely solid. This is a very cool shot. Very, very cool. I love this. And he's in like a little guard, like what's the yard chair. Lawn chair. Jeez, I
Yeah,
couldn't even say it.
it's vintage. It's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. And like this, very cool, interesting perspective, right? And we talked about this when it comes to angles before, right? That conveyance, right? When sometimes shooting further back and giving that, that background a lot more space to breathe, it really shows the relationship with the subject matter as someone being affected by their environment, right? Sometimes it can be very intimate and vulnerable, but giving his positioning and like how he chose to pose is actually really cool, and it's kind of like, it's very dope. It's really really dope. So like just the angle that you chose, as opposed to like getting lower eye level and head on, and then what you incorporated, really cool shot. Honestly, there's no notes on this. Like you did it.
I was curious what you thought about the editing because, like, so the lighting in this room is terrible, and
Oh
so I
wow.
was like, I don't know, I have like a million versions. Some of them are like creamier, some of them are grayer. I just didn't know how that hit you.
I mean, honestly, I don't know what the lighting is like in here, genuinely, but
I
it
guess
looks balanced. Like I feel like whatever you did, you created a
okay.
nice balanced image, and it doesn't look crazy. Like I don't feel like you brought the shadows out in a crazy way that it felt unnatural. Um, yeah, it doesn't look like appealing light, but it doesn't look like bad lighting, and I think that's a testament to how you process this because it looks good. It looks solid.
Okay,
It
cool.
looks nice and even. Um, yeah, and as you become more proficient with like Lightroom and stuff, you'll be able to like get rid of these things and get rid of that thing
It's
and get rid of
funny. So
that thing.
I got rid of some stuff already, and I didn't
Right.
want to go crazy. Like the original, there was like a push to exit button on the wall. There
Yeah.
was a bunch of junk on the floor. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know if it's going to start looking crazy if I keep using that removal tool, but it seems like that technology's gotten so good.
It's
I could have gotten rid of all that shit.
yeah, it's sensational, honestly. And like for some things you don't want to get rid of all of it because it may be weird, but like sockets, bro, I'm not going to hold you. I'm cooking every socket I find most of the time cuz
Mm,
it's just like it just doesn't add value. Sockets, exit signs, fire extinguishers, light
hmm.
switches, like that type of stuff is just it doesn't really add value. It's just kind of like it's a little ghetto, it's a little like ugh, like it's a little trashy. So if I can, I'm gonna get rid of it. Um, this thing, yeah, if you can, obviously this is playing a little close to the sun, so you might get some weird artifacts as well.
Yeah, I was worried about that
Yeah,
one, but
but
yeah, I would go back and do it, at least, especially the outlets that don't have anything plugged into them.
yeah, no, these are solid. This is really really dope. I can't, I have no notes in terms of how you executed that. Just some things the things that I do and how I kind of approach certain types of spot removal. Good work, great work. And they're very sharp, like super sharp images, honestly. Um, nice. This is Stead. We got Stead in the building. Um, great work. I like these. I like the images that you shoot over here at Rocksteady, bro. Like they're really good, and they're genuinely getting better and better. Um, is this is this a raw image, Stead?
Um, no, I did some lot editing, and then for this picture, I felt like it would be more dramatic and black and white.
Nice, nice. So you okay? Cool. And look and listen. Is this a raw image as well?
No, all of them are edited.
These are all edited.
Yeah.
Did you shoot them in raw?
No, I shot them in JPEG.
Got you. Now, and remember, we had a conversation during the last feedback session about raw versus JPEG, and
Yes.
tell me, what do you think? I want to hear what you think and what do you feel about the work so far.
Um, I know for the two pictures that are shot at Rocksteady, I was trying to get like the artist more focused, and then so I messed with the f stop, and I felt like I do have him in focus, but if you look in the background, half of the background's in focus and the other half is not in focus.
Yeah, I mean,
So I feel like
honestly,
there's something I can work on that more. And then as far as the color is, because he was like close to the flash, he was kind of overexposed in my eyes. I was trying to like kind of lowered the exposure, but then his skin tone became more orange in my eyes.
Yeah. Can anyone who is are you guys having a hard time hearing Stead? Can anyone hear? Can
No,
everyone hear
I
him?
hear him okay. Yeah, I can hear
I
him.
can hear him fine.
Yeah.
Okay, it must just be on me.
Oh man, I'm not sure.
Maybe
Maybe
it's a setting on mine that I
possibly.
can't.
Sometimes you might accidentally mute someone in the server, so you may need to just like click on them, check, make sure they're not muted for you.
Okay, gotcha.
Gotcha. But yeah, no, instead I see, and honestly, I don't see him being super overexposed. If that's a result of what you did in the editing, you did a wonderful job, honestly, because this is a nice, decently balanced image in terms of lighting. Um, and in terms of like focus versus background and foreground, I think just a crop would have been helpful to help minimize that. Um, that kind of like conflict, like this arm right here. I would, like I say, cut it in or cut it out, right? Like in this image, this is dope because what it serves, what it represents. It's like he's a spectator, he's excited, he's involved, and so I think this is a really cool shot. And even the artist himself would really appreciate a shot like this because of what it shows. But this shot is kind of like it shows the same thing, but it's not as impactful because of how little of this person you're including. But does that make sense?
Yes.
But otherwise, in terms of execution, this is very solid. And like we talked about, last week, still continue to practice and experiment with shooting raw in terms of, um, learning how to post process that. But man, a tremendous jump in quality in terms of like just the overall noise and grainness level of the images, right? You're doing solid, and the shots that you get with your raw images are fire. But until you have like a very solid sound process for editing your raws that kind of kills that noise and grain, just go. I would say just continue to shoot JPEG, especially for your commercial work, because that smoothness in the images, right, is there, and the quality is there. And to me, that was like the last little bit that you needed to like really crush every image, and that's what you did with this gallery, bro. Like your lighting is solid, your composition is solid, your creative approach is solid, and then now there's just like a smoothness, and there's no grain, and there's no noise, and it doesn't matter whether you shot on JPEG or RAW because it's a great image, and I'm sure they felt good about these images as well, right? Like this shot is solid, very very solid. You know, heck yeah, heck yeah. I would have went with a higher crop personally. You know, like just I don't know, I'm not one of the girls, so I don't know the culture, but just like as a photographer, this X section, I don't know if this doesn't seem flattering to me. So I
Okay.
probably would have cropped up like right here at the, what is that leg pit? Right at the leg pit, and then kept that
The
top
hinge.
space. At the what?
The hinge. I call that the
That's
hinge.
called is that what it's called? The hinge? Ladies, chime in. Tell us what is that? What is the back of the leg pit? What is that called? I don't know. No, I don't know what that's called. Um, but yeah, I probably would have went for the crop like that, and then or just
Okay.
angled it up to keep the full 32 in, or just cropped in a little bit more. Like this.
Oh,
Yeah, this just wasn't. It's not you. Just as a photographer, right? Your job is going to not only know about what you do, but you also got to know about what they do. I remember
mhm.
when I was a younger man, I took a bunch of actual. They used to have like free classes at Sephora for like doing makeup and stuff like that. And I had to do hair tutorials, and I used to keep up when I did stuff for the record label, and I did a lot of artist development, and I started working with certain like female artists. I would keep like a little bag with like like foundation and mascara, and like not stuff that needs to be catered to the skin, but like particular things. And then I would keep hair stuff or brushes and combs and Vaseline and toothbrushes, whatever it was. But just
Mhm.
like for you, as you shoot these things, they're just gonna be posing. They're just gonna do what they think is cute, and like this might be cool for like maybe IG story or whatever. But like you gotta be
Yeah.
able to get in there and be like, no, let's do that. We want to make sure you need to know what are going to be the most flattering angles and things for her. That's also a
Okay.
part of your job, you know. Um,
Okay.
but solid work, man. Like I'm loving your work, bro. You're honestly cooking, and you are on the fast track to banger after banger after banger. These are great galleries. Um,
Appreciate it.
of course, of course. Cassie, come on, look at that.
So this is a before. No, this is just a before picture that we
Got
was.
you.
Well, this is not the same one, but
Okay, hard. This is hard.
um,
I
you
like the
remember when we were going over on Sunday. So yeah, that's the after. You like
nice.
that?
I do. I do. I mean, you went with a very unique and creative look to it. Did you add this smoke?
I did,
Cool. I see it. Listen, I see the vision. I see the vision. Right? This is
but
you took a artistic approach, and I can't critique that. Right? Your
right,
technical execution is sound. Like you did it. You had a great image. The composition was there, and the stuff that didn't have. I love the reflection element. That's the only thing I would have done different. I wish you would have seen the reflection. Did you notice that when you were shooting it?
no.
I wish you would have seen it during the shoot and then just like incorporate more of it. Like if you would have went half and half in terms of like that composition, would have been you that would have been crazy. But the fact that it's there and that you noticed it enough in post to incorporate
Yeah.
some of it was also a masterful catch. Yeah, no, this I mean this is an artistic direction that you took with the process, and I think it's cool. I like it quite a bit. I like it quite a bit. I personally for this shot, I felt like there was a lot of warmth to the image, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that going further into that warmth direction would have that would have benefited you better than going more with green, because even though green feels like can be warm, it's technically on the cool side of the spectrum. So I would have went with something more on the warm side just to kind of like really play to the strengths of the original image. But that's more of a like I said, that's an artistic choice. Wouldn't say that's wrong or bad, but continue to be just as brave with your artistic decisions, because this is very solid, this is very cool, and I love you adding the smoke. Like that's that's the type of daring and just assertiveness with your creativity that you're going to need to really just be amazing. Honestly, this is fire. This is very fire.
So I was trying to go more on the warm side, but
Hmm.
I did end up going on this side, and I did like it. But I literally just got finished with this picture, so I'm still trying to
No
play
worries.
around with it and try
Yeah.
to see if I can go on the warmer side. But I did like um this, but I did kind of want to go warmer. So if I was to go warmer, would I just have to mess with like the color grade? Because I did up like some of the greens and the aquas and
Because you did
stuff.
that in color grading or you did that in the color mixer?
I did it in the mixer, the one with the shadows and the midtones
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I probably would have
that stuff.
gone. I would bring those back to neutral, and then I would use my color grading on the global adjustments, the thing that affects everything, and
Okay.
then maybe add that. But to be honest, the original is already so warm. I don't see you
Hmm.
needing to like adding a lot more warmth to it. I just would kind of like play with the warmth that's there by maybe adjusting some of the shadows, maybe getting in there with the curves, and then bringing like I like what you did to bringing out the shadows here for like the detail. I think that's solid.
Hmm.
And then I think just maybe if you lose some of the color when you adjust the shadows, then just bring it back. But yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't remember, like I said, this is an artistic decision that you made, and so I can't
Hmm.
critique that. Like you did it. You did a good job.
Okay.
Um, like this, love this. You found the light. You found where the good light was at. You put it where it needed to be to get a balanced, soft image. I don't really have any. I don't have too many notes or complaints about that, honestly. Um, yeah. The only thing I would do is differently. I would probably crop in a little bit more, just because
Okay.
there's nothing going on here on the legs, so
Okay.
it can just be it can be a little distracting. So you can either two things you can do, right, which can be really cool. You can either crop in and eliminate some of the leg space, the leg negative space? Or
Mhm.
can you see this little bit of green right here at the bottom?
Mhm.
Were you shooting past like some bushes or something like that?
Um,
Or like some
no, I
grass?
wasn't. It might have been some grass in there.
So what you can do next time, literally find yourself a little bush, right? And just kind of
Mhm.
shoot through that bush. And the areas, if you want to keep it wide, try to place some organic areas that can naturally frame. So if you shoot through something, let me see. I might have some images I can show you. Um, like for example, if we say, like if we go, forest, Jesus, forest um, portraits. I'm pretty sure we'll find something exactly like that, right? Let's see what we can find. Right, I don't want to. I don't want to take too much time. Not forest, maybe jungle. Jungle will probably be a lot better, right? So here's an example, right?
Mhm.
Let me see. Yeah, something like this right here. Perfect, perfect. So shooting through something like this, right, can create a man. I wish it was not so blurry. But you can see that well enough, right? Let me go. Like maybe
Right.
pop up on Facebook. Bam. So like shooting through a bush or something, you may not for that shot. You don't want to get as funky as this, where it's like on the top and in the middle. But you can shoot through a bush or past a tree or through some branches, and then like utilize the depth of field and the wetness of like that focus of the things
Mhm.
to create some like more atmosphere and to help frame the image just like they kind of use this green foliage to frame her here. And I think in the same way, like you can just find anything. It can be some rocks, some trees, some twigs, and when you got your depth of field and it's shallow enough, it's gonna just
Mhm.
blur it and create like some cool artifacts to go around or go in between. But yeah, that's one of the cheat codes to me. Like you shoot some portraits through some grass, right? Like if you just say grassy portraits, right? Boom. Like you feel me?
Yeah, it wasn't that tall.
No, exactly. And it may not be that tall, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Literally, you can go. I've done this so many times where like I'm shooting, right? You can see me.
Mhm.
I'm shooting, and I'll literally grab a branch or just a handful of grass, and I'll just do this, and I'm just like right here in front of my thing, and it does the same effect. Even if you're not even around
Mhm.
anything, it's just I'll grab a branch and I'll just do that, bam, and you're in there. So
Okay.
just another option. Not saying that what you did wasn't good. Like it's a solid shot, but I would crop in to account for that negative space, or I would probably try to find some elements to throw in to create some more atmosphere.
Okay.
Um, I mean, strong, solid, regal. Do you feel me? This is like the president and the first lady type of shot. This is off the chain. Love that. No
Does
notes.
it need to get more color?
No, no. This is strong. I
Okay.
like it. It's neutral. No, yeah.
Okay.
For shots like this, this is like one of those classic portraits. This is not for color grade. This is not for
Mm-mm.
smoke look. This is not for grain. This is like banger, get in, clean. You feel
They
me?
can hang it
Like,
up in the house.
yep.
That's what I was trying to go for.
Only thing
Okay.
is, what am I gonna say about these feet?
I can't see the image. Can you share
My
your
Oh yeah,
fault.
screen?
you're
My
not.
fault. Um,
Oh, do I need to crop it up
or
if it's not in there? But it was showing. But
yep,
when I tell you the way I took the picture, I had to re-angle it.
got you. But yeah, my only thing is, if when it comes to hands, feet, all those types of appendages, cut it in or cut it out. That's my only.
Yeah.
That's the only thing because you don't want to have anything cut off partially. Um,
Correct.
but yep, that's
Okay.
it. Solid work. Great work. Great work.
Okay.
I love this shot so much. Um,
All right.
heck
Thank
yeah.
you.
Here's the original. Yeah, dude. This is and listen,
Yeah.
this for whatever reason to me, it's just way more like it's way more just interesting in a way. Like the other shot is very good, but like the more space that it gives it, and especially you got this leading line, like it's just solid. It's very very solid. The only thing that would make this image even more even more like of a banger as if like there was somebody here, like riding, either coming up or going down. But I really enjoy this type of look, right? Like this type of like negative space. Because you put now the main subject matter is them instead of, because when you look at the other image, right, it kind of looks like we're not sure what this who the person you're taking a photo is, right? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I understand.
Like this image, I don't know who you're taking a photo of. I'm there's not it's not sure which one of these people is the subject matter. But for this image, they are all the subject matter. And I'm not trying to figure out who the picture is of. I'm just like, you're taking a picture of these skaters at a skate park. Like the story, it hits me immediately. Yeah, no, this is solid. Very, very solid image. I like this a lot. I like this a lot. And now, listen, I love me a good leading line. Stop playing. Stop playing. And they're very firmly placed on that third line. Um, maybe in post, maybe experiment with the spot removal, kill some of these like street lights, and then maybe get rid of this pole and just see how that looks.
Yeah, I removed all of that stuff in the cropped photo.
Oh, true that.
But I understand what you mean for sure.
Yep, nah. But otherwise, yeah, solid work, solid work. And then we got Dunya. Heck yeah.
It's done, yeah.
Dunye. My apologies.
Yeah. All good, all good.
Heck yeah, dude. This is gas. This is gas. And literally what we were just talking about for your shot, Cassie, in terms of just like shooting through stuff. Like this is a cool way to do that. What even is this, bro? What is this? A chandelier?
That's like from like the glass like paint trees at the botanical garden.
Got it. Yep. Great use of natural framing. Obviously, this is a very artistic direction. So I don't really have any notes or critiques in terms of the lighting, because this is very clearly intentional. Yeah, man, this is really cool. Really, really dope. I'm not sure what format you shot this in. I mean, what aspect ratio you shot this in, but maybe more of that landscape. Did you like crop this in more?
Yeah, I think I cropped it to be. I think it's like 4x5. I don't remember. I took this a little bit ago.
Got you.
I just never got a second set of eyes on it.
No, this is dope. Honestly, I probably would have went with more of like an actual portrait crop. Put his eyes right there on the third line, and then like, cause like when you hold on, let me show you, bro. Like, cause when you think about it, if you go for like a more proper portrait crop, cause I know showing all the stuff in the background is cool and it's definitely really really fire, but what it'll give you? Oh my good, what did I just do? No, rectangular snip, cool. Like if we were to go here, right? Boom, and go with like a portrait crop like that, it kind of gives a more like, you know what I'm saying? It's like very focused now, and it gives us a more like it's intimate. It's very into like we're more into like the subject matter now, and you still keep the element. And honestly, there's a bit more of an element of mystery when it comes to like the lights and the stuff around his mouth. Like it's way. I'm not sure what the intended, does like the intended result was for the shot. If it was just to shoot this dude, I think going for a portrait orientation would have played better in terms of like that feeling. But in terms of technical execution, dog, this is fire. Absolutely fire. And even artistic execution, this is dope. This is really, really dope. Just as something to consider when shooting people, maybe throw it in, get a little bit of both. And let's see. I mean, solid shot. Another thing for everybody, right? Just a little cheat code, just a thing to keep in mind. In photography, having groups of 3 when you're shooting people, sometimes having groups of 3 just creates great balance. That's like the number. You either want to have one person, 3 people, or like maybe a group of folks. But sometimes 2 people in an image sometimes can get really weird unless you put them really close together to where they kind of feel like one. But this is a great shot. Honestly, the only thing I would have done differently was maybe shoot a little bit wider. And like I'm seeing like the crop, and I understand you want to focus on the subject matter, but sometimes allowing that space and letting them kind of be in that space is a great way to just create balance in that image. Because I do feel I don't really necessarily I'm not looking to see their feet per se, but like maybe extend out to see the rest of this window and see the rest of the wall and see more of the ceiling. Like that can create like a really cool look in terms of just balance, right? Because sometimes I feel like when we're shooting people on the edge, you don't want them too close like this. Like it's almost out of the photo, right? So you want to have
Yeah.
at least for me, for certain types of portraiture and some types of like imagery when I'm shooting people, like I want my headspace distance to be kind of equal to like the side distance if I'm having like a full framed image like this where I got stuff all the way around, you know? That's not like a general rule of thumb, but like for an image like this, I probably would have wanted my sides to go out just as far as my headspace, just to see. Um, but I mean, like I said, you know, your technical execution is very, very solid. It does, yeah. No, your technical execution is right. It's all there. This is fire. This is very, very fire. No notes really. Yeah, and I think you know some of the stuff that I would have done differently are just more so, technical things. I mean, they're artistic things. Like I like a cleaner, warmer process. Let me actually download this. I want to look at this one a little bit more because I do see some artifacts a little bit. Let me see what that is. See what that is. So, okay, yeah, I'm not sure what this is. This may be like a camera thing,
Uh,
but I do see some like
so I
color.
had to compress like the image right before I sent it, so I think some of that is because
You
that's
had,
not in the original file.
you said you had to compress it.
Yeah, because when I tried to send it over Discord, it
Ah,
was like it's too big because it was like 20 megabytes,
okay, yeah,
so
that's
it
what I
just
was about to
didn't.
say. I was like, I'm not sure if that was like something in camera or what, or if you did like some color changes. Um, even this thing right here, that was I'm
Yeah,
not
that's
sure. It's not these not crazy. These
yeah.
aren't like image breaking things at all. Yeah, I can definitely see some of like the damage here, but yeah, no, these are solid. At first, I thought these were like color changes you made, and those were like the small artifacts. But no, this is solid, bro. Great work, great work. It's very very unique.
Thank you.
Heck yeah, man.
I have a question though for I guess it's honestly between like
Hold on one
the
second.
like
Did
sure.
you was his phone in his hand and you like erased it?
No, why does it look like that?
Look at that. That looks
Hold on.
crazy.
I wish I could. Yeah. No, but no, he did not have his phone in his hand.
Okay.
That's the one
Why
thing.
does his hand look like that, dude? Hold on. Let me go back. Can I zoom in more?
This tool really.
Doesn't that look wild?
Really
That looks so wild. He just has like a perfectly straight thumb.
actually, yeah, no. In the original picture, it looks just like that too. But I didn't take anything out of his hand.
Got you.
And it's
Got you.
like, yeah, it's just the way that his thumb just comes through his hand.
Got it. Got it. But yeah, I'm sorry. You said you had a question.
Yeah, I guess just between those two images, like I guess like I felt like the technical execution was decent, but I also felt like there was a lot of distracting elements, but I couldn't quite like point them out. Like it's like this whole thing looks cool, but like there's also a lot of other things that I'm looking at, and I'm not sure it's just because like I looked at the pictures for too
Right.
long, or if it's like generally they are actually distracting, like the little red and green lights like
Yeah.
along the top and the ground.
Yeah. So definitely, I'm most likely cooking these guys. Like they're out of there. And then see the only and here's why this is why I was saying a wider shot would have been more advantageous because the only reason why these are a little bit more distracting is because they don't show up enough to where it kind of feels like the environment. Because there's only a few, it makes me kind of more curious on what they are. But if you zoomed out and you can see more of them or you see more of the gate or more of the doors, whatever it is, I feel like I'll have more context for where they might be and I'm not as questioning of what those things are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but in terms of like what you have here, yeah, if you got the spot removal tool, just get rid of those guys. That could definitely help with the focus. I would get rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm getting rid of these two, and then I'm probably cropping in to get rid of this guy. I kind of like this guy, right? I'm not worried about this guy. And then that's pretty much it. Everything else is pretty solid, to be honest. There isn't much distraction in terms of like other artifacts. Maybe this one here, especially. So is this for like an album cover?
That's what I was going for with this one.
Okay, yeah. So if you're doing an album cover, there is definitely a lot more smoothness you want to go for. So I'm getting rid of this too. I'm getting rid of this too. I'm getting rid of that. Like I really want to keep it as focused as possible when it comes to album covers. I'm getting rid of these. If it was just a photo, I'm getting rid of only this album. I'm getting rid of this and this. I'm cropping up here, making sure I get rid of that. No, like you want to minimize as much distraction as possible. You want every prominent visual element in your photo for album covers to be the subject, the concept, whatever it is, but you don't want anything really distracting you. Um, yeah, so I'm getting rid of this. I'm getting rid of that. Yeah, there's a lot more I'm getting rid of if it's for an album cover as opposed to just like a cool image, you know. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, no, solid. In terms of distraction, I don't see distraction as much as just it's not that you have a lot of things that are distracting in your image, but I do feel like there are some um like take a bit more time to like just really take in the image, look and be intentional, and just like sometimes you just want to sit with the composition and like go, do I want this here? Do I not want this here? What do I want and what tells that story? Because something I was taught, a while back, is that um everything in your composition either complements the subject or it takes away from the subject. So you got to be really mindful and intentional about what's there and what's not there, right? And sometimes things can be ignored and it's not as big of a deal, based on like the how that subject matter is shown up. But it's not something that you want to be like completely absent minded about. Not saying that you are, but just something to think about. Um, I don't see that as much in this image. Like it's just really cool and unique, and it's a unique environment. And like that's the cheat code when you're shooting really cool shit is that people are like, oh well, fuck, it's cool. I don't know what's going on, but it's cool, and like you win easy. For stuff like this, you definitely got to take a little bit more time and just kind of like sit with the composition and be very very clear on what your intended result is going to be, and then what you can do in camera, and then also that same type of mindfulness needs to go into the process. Um, but yeah, no, solid man, great. Thank you for submitting because these are really cool images. Honestly, honestly,
Thanks. I really appreciate the feedback.
heck yeah, heck yeah. Um, do we have any other questions? Oh, we got one more. This last one, Cassie. We want to take a look at this.
Yeah, I was just trying to
Okay,
see, is this more the warm
I
side?
feel it. Yeah, this I'm feeling a little bit more personally.
More.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, definitely feeling this a little bit more. I would probably try to go. Don't crush the light too much because it's too dark in this lampshade for it to be a source of light. So whatever you did to the
Okay.
lights to bring the lights down, bring it up, not all the way up because I know it's intense, but just bring it up a little bit. Like bring some of the, the realistic relationship between the light here and the light here, and I think you'll be in
Okay.
business. Heck yeah. Um, thank
Yeah,
y'all
I masked
so.
it and
Yeah,
downed it.
nah, solid. But yeah, thank y'all so much. We were in here, locked in tonight. I'm always like I said, I always love the editing workshop um uh feedback sessions because we just kind of really get into the weeds of it, man. And I think that's gonna be a very um it's gonna take a lot of time for you guys to get the hang of it, but it's one of the most fun parts of photography for me. I love the post process. It's really where you start to add the artistic elements of your work, and that's where that's where you birth the baby, right? That's where your child is born for the most part. Um, so it's important, and if some of these concepts are going to be difficult to grasp going forward, like I said, I'm recording this session that's going to go up tomorrow onto the YouTube channel. The session from last week is going up tonight, and yeah, man, if you have any other questions going forward, I know the editing process is kind of a perpetual education thing. So we can always have those breakout sessions. I had one of our students, he couldn't make it tonight. So he literally sent me a couple photos and I did a live, I did a live feedback session right before this class. And I'm uploading that to YouTube. You guys can check that out. But that's something that you all can do, right? If you get together a nice gallery or a couple images, send them to me, drop them in the feedback chat and say, hey, can you give me a quick feedback, whatever video to that? I love doing that. And it's great for the rest of the students as well as for what we do on our YouTube channel. So feel free to, at any point, get some feedback on your work or we'll create like a breakout session. thank y'all. This is really cool. This is really fun. I'm always super grateful to be here and get to do this type of stuff. Um, every Thursday, 8 p.m. We'll have this video up again tomorrow, and then this Sunday we have our motion workshop. We got our dancer AC coming in. I think he's bringing some friends as well. Great ballet dancers. You don't want to miss that. Um, yeah, let me know if you guys need anything else. I appreciate you greatly. Are we good? Did you need any questions, concerns, final thoughts, shout outs? No?
Thank you.
Cool beans. Thank you. You're welcome. Stay safe. Have a good night. Peace.
Night,
Thank you.
y'all.